Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review is the series Them, Amazon original. Let's get into this. Right off the bat, subscribe and like to the channel. This is not going to be one of my favorable videos or reviews, but let's just get right into it. And this series, 10 episodes on Amazon. Many of us who seen the trailers, we instantly thought of it was some type of spin-off of Us. Get Out, the movie Us. They call them and Us, so it's a spin-off of that, some type of relation to that. So it kind of draw the curiosity in, and then you just seeing the trailers, and it's okay, it's some spook stuff, okay? One thing you don't often see is black people in a scary movie or whatever, stuff like that, and to go through that whole spill. So it was interesting enough to see. But I'm gonna just go over some the actors and actresses right quick. You have Shahadi Wright Joseph. She also played in the movie Us. The little girl that was in the movie Us, she played as the daughter in here too. Same type of role. And somebody need to tell her and her family that about the little girl that played in Poltergeist and that whole storyline. What happened with that? How playing a kid playing in spook pictures and how that travels in real life. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole spiritual world and all that. That's something can't be taken lightly. They had a dynamic young actress. Melanie Hurd. She played as Gracie. She was a great little actress, but I hated to see her in this type of movie. I mean, series. You had Ashley Thomas. He plays as the dad, Henry Emery. You had the mom, Deborah Ayor Rindy, plays as Livia. Lucky's her nickname, Emery. And that's the main characters, pretty much. That's the family. And the Black Hat Man, who was the main villain in the Christopher Hayarda, and the crappy neighbor, Allison Peel. Her name is Elizabeth Wendell. So just get into it. I really shouldn't do a long review on this series because this was to me a disgusting series. I didn't like it. It's a constant reflection on if you didn't like Roots, you didn't like 12 Years a Slave, if you didn't like The Butler, all those type movies that constantly a reminder of what black people was oppressed and was systematically oppressed even after slavery. And if you didn't like stuff like that, you darn sure ain't gonna like this. This is some stuff that went on here was egregious, and you wonder how stuff like this get greenlit. You wonder how stuff like this get greenlit, and it's always these type movies that get the sign off to say, "Yeah, we gonna put that out there," but no other race that went through a similar horrific situation with their people constantly get a movie or a series reenacting what took place. They don't even think twice about doing stuff like that. But stuff like this, they green lit for stuff like this. So the setting of the story is back in the 1950s, late 1950s, where some black people were starting to move up in life, and it's showing how like hip hop came on the scene. That's how most of us that don't live in California, we seen Watts and Compton, but there was once Compton and Watts was like a suburban area where not many blacks live. So what we seen by the time hip hop got involved and start listening to the music and they broadcasting their videos and the movies that was going on out there, what we were seeing was after more and more black people start getting in those neighborhoods. So this movie is kind of showing the beginning when those were just suburbs. And It wasn't common for black folks to be in those areas. And when they moved in those areas, they were either ran out or received a hard time from the people in the land that lived in that area being racist. And that's basically how the movie starts off. The black family is moving into this white neighborhood, and they're not welcome, of course. And the whole series is based upon 10 days. Everything that happens is in 10 days. And it's horrific. To just see, it's horrible. I wouldn't want to show young children this. It's no teacher moment in this. Why we got to constantly keep showing stuff like this, what happened to our people. Why you got to keep showing it, a different variation of something that somebody else didn't already show. We already know it's just systemic racism. We already know that. You got to keep showing another version of it, and then get so horrific with it. You know, they could have done well with the movie if they just had some spook stuff going on, but it could have done away with the whole race, all that racism stuff that they added to it. So, nevertheless, the family moves in, not welcome, but you get to see a part of the movie where they came from. They came from some country area, and it shows the mom is there with a little baby, their son, and a woman walks up on the property. She sees the woman. The dog is barking. The dog goes out to the woman. Dog is receptive of the woman. She hugs the dog, and the mom is just looking at the baby right there. And the baby, she's feeding the baby. The woman is looking crazy, singing a song, and said that you know, pretty much you got us. What's his name? Can I have your son? So the mom, of course, that alarms her. She goes off, telling her she need to get gone. But when you see down the street, well, not the street, they in the country, you see some other people coming up. And she made mention, like, my husband will be home. And she was like, pretty much like, oh, your husband that left about an hour ago with them two um with them two girls. So they was already watching her. But it moves off of that scene and goes back to, I guess this was a current scene, so they playing back and forth with that situation, and you get to see the dad was an engineer. He had some stuff that happened to him. He was in the military, and he had some problems or whatever. And they were all seeing demons. That's what each character was seeing, a demon. So they had a little girl. She's very bright and smart. She's going to start kindergarten, and the town she was in, her teacher gave her a book of some demonic stuff. Like, so you thinking of the time period, maybe they ain't paying attention, but parents, be careful, even in present day, when you hear about the story of the teacher who made the kid go and clean the toilet with feces and stuff and all that in it. So these type of things are still relevant to this day. But nevertheless, the little girl, teacher gave her this demonic book of this lady, Miss Vera, and the Miss Vera lady has been talking to her, coming to see her and visit her and stuff like that. So the mom is pretty much like, what you know, not blowing her off in a sense. So each one of the characters, the main characters, the family, is seeing their own demons. In comes the dad, who the dad sees. The dad sees motherfucking Sambo. The dad sees Sambo. So you already know, here we go. You already know, here we go. When you see Sambo in any movie, you know it's going to be some bull or whatever. So the dad, his image of the person he sees is Sambo or whatever. And dad works for the engineering company and or whatever. He the only black, of course. And the paper that they signed, when they signed the mortgage, it had a note on there pretty much saying that no Negroes with Negro blood should be living in this area. It pretty much need to be sold to a Caucasian and stuff like that. And so that was, they need to get these properties sold. So they was putting anybody in it. And in the process of doing that, the realtor lady, she was in cahoots with the town's police officer, who would make sure that the people in the town, you know, keep the trouble down, so it allows the people to come in and move there and not have no problems or whatever. And so even though it wasn't right, they was giving high mortgage rates, but the black families was still making it happen because wherever they coming from, people who come from a struggle environment, and that's even in present day, if you come from a struggle environment and you want to do better, you'll almost overpay to be in a better environment for your family. And that's basically saying what they were doing here. They, regardless of what the rates was, whatever, and the people was basically setting it up like that, overcharging because they of their race and everything like that, because they was willing to leave their circumstances to what they consider a better living or whatever. So that's even present day. That's still going on to this day or whatever. So if you want to say some symbolic meaning behind that, all right, whatever, But where the daughter, the oldest daughter, she goes to school. Of course, the white kids make fun of her. Basically she a monkey and she's crying, and she's in the principal's office. They wrote her a letter saying she was a distraction or whatever to the class, and a little girl shows up. So at first you thinking this white little girl is just being nice, but she already came off as being weird from the gate. So they got more weirder. And you find out the whole time this white girl is an illusion or whatever. So that was who her demon person she was looking at. And so when they showing up to this town, you start to thinking for a quick sec, well, what happened to the little kid, the little baby they had or whatever? So you like, or is this had to be present day? Did something happen? They don't tell you that what happens until like 3 episodes into the 3-4 episodes into the series or whatever. And the mom started seeing, the little girl was seeing Miss Vera or whatever, and the mom started seeing stuff in this house or whatever. And the little girl said she didn't notice, she wasn't seeing the woman until they moved from where they moved from in this area or whatever. So it goes and show what happened to the mom after the woman was asking for the child. You seen the people coming up the road, and she locked up the house. And what happened was the old woman came with her hillbilly men. They broke into the house. She put the baby into a closet, and she was just hiding. And they found her, of course, and the woman found the baby. And it was just horrific that they actually put this on, made this scene. Of course, you already know what could happen. They raped her. But what they did with the baby was egregious, that they actually allowed this to be filmed and put on as part of whatever. I guess they're trying to show how heartless people was to human life, but just once again reenacting what happened to black people and stuff like that. It's egregious. That's why I say I wouldn't recommend you picking your kids to see nothing like this. This whole series is trash. They could can this series. I'm putting it out here just to say, hey, don't waste your time. You could pass on this. Don't watch it. This was egregious. That whole scene right there was terrible. What they did with that little baby, and they buried the little baby at that old place. And it wasn't long after that. That's when they moved to. So it wasn't no period. A couple years later, and then they moved. That happened. Say that in like a week or two, they moved to California, wherever they came from, and now all this stuff is happening. And all this stuff that's already happened is within 10 days. So the whole series is built based upon 10 days, and they seeing all these different things, all the racism things that they're experiencing throughout the town. You got a neighbor across the street. She's all these women in the town. They're housewives, and they mad because they looking at the black folks is living like them or could be living better. And now you're starting to see what you also see in real life. more black folks start coming in the neighborhood, more for sale signs start going up, and the white folks get up out of the neighborhood and move somewhere else. And that's what happened with one of the families, and they really didn't tell nobody. They just was moving out. Said they got something, they needed more space or whatever. So the Betty across the way, neighbor across the way, she's really giving them a hard time, and she's campaigning. And her husband, uh, they had an account. The husband exhausted their funds. They can't move nowhere. She comes from a rich family, but she got it's a conflict with her and her dad and her mom. They really didn't welcome her back, and it almost made it seem like they didn't really get in detail what happened to her, but it almost made it seem like she might have been raped or molested by the dad or something like that. That's how it kind of made it seem. So she had issues, and the whole town is doing all these negative things, writing nigger on the lawn, and all the typical stuff you see in every other movie. And they are looking at the mom as being crazy. Like they think she killed the little baby, and what happened, and they hallucinating. All of them seeing these different things throughout the whole episode. You finally find out who the man. You find out that other black families that was in the neighborhood, the women, all end up killing their whole families and end up in crazy homes and stuff like that or whatever. So you find out the backstory, who's the man in the black hat. And if you, those of us who seen Poltergeist, there was a man in that tall man in a hat, black hat like that in Poltergeist. He sung a song that everybody familiar of singing or whatever. And this same type of man in the black hat is on here too. And you find out the backstory, how he became who he became. He was with the Amish people, and this black family was traveling on their little cart. The cart broke down. They took him in, but then the Amish, he was like the head of the town, and they were supposed to fix the black people's carriage wheel. They didn't fix it, and he just lost his family. He found his boy or whatever, so he think is a boy, and it's a spirit the whole time or whatever. It's a spirit the whole time, and the black couple is pretty much the woman's pregnant, and they give him refuge, but then he's fighting with God, asking God for a sign. He's helping them at first, but then the man is pretty much saying like, hey, I work, I just don't want to be living off of y'all. I work for our stay, and to help me help us fix our carriage. And they were looking for a well, and he digged this long hole and found water so that they can have a second well. And it just was showing that the work ethic of the black person, and they had a nerve, because he was bringing them bricks or cement, to say he was lazy for not bringing it all the way up to him while they were just sitting on their rump. So it was kind of showing the normal typical stuff or whatever. And what ended up happening is that the town was racist. They wanted them out of there, and they end up, he had a horse. They came with a horse. They tried to say they stole a horse from them, and of course they persecuted them. Now this is a pregnant woman. Another egregious scene, pregnant woman, they beating her up, and she cursed them all. And when she cursed them all, the whole town went up in flames. They killed both of them, burnt them both up. And when he went down into like a cellar, it kind of was like saying to him, the spirit, demon spirit was saying to him pretty much, sell your soul, give me your soul. And what you got to do, you got to see for that every black person that comes in this town, you got to make sure that you basically make them give in. So that's the whole plot of it, making the black people give in to their fears and make them go crazy. And if they go crazy, that's them giving in and if he doesn't succeed, he loses his soul and he dies or whatever. So that's the whole plot. That's the backstory of him. So I'm giving you all this in a nutshell. Don't waste your time. I review a lot of different stuff, and someone asked me to review this, so I took the time out and to watch it all the way through. But I wasn't going after the third episode. I was through with it, but I said for me to speak to it and put it out there to tell people why not to watch it, I had to watch it all the way through. So eventually, what happens is the mom had this box with the initials of the little baby, and you thinking it was just a blanket that they killed the little baby in. And when the dad was Gary get all the whole family um, out of the town, he goes and pick up the box and find that the little baby's corpse was in the box. The mom snapped and she dug up the grave with the little baby in it and brought the little baby corpse and with the so that was like some weird stuff right there. And you find out there was a milkman in the neighborhood, and he was fond of the neighbor Betty, and he once told the neighbor Betty like, hey, you should come out in the country land and spend some time. And she's like, I'm a married woman or whatever. He was like, oh yeah, well bring your husband too or whatever. But he was plotting the whole time. So when she found out the husband took all the money out of the bank account, she showed up to his residence and he slipped her a Mickey, and she went missing, of course, and he was basically keeping her kidnapped. And the husband started getting wary, and they blaming, of course, the black people in the neighborhood. They start blaming them. The wife got sent to a crazy home because she had a corpse or whatever. They sent her to a crazy home, and now the dad, he was snapping. So well, hello there, Sambo was talking to him. His spirit was talking to him the whole time, and so he was telling him like basically, you need to step up for yourself. And so he went and seen his boss at the boss's crib with his gun, and the boss wife was there, and she didn't see him the whole time he was in the house. He used the bathroom, poured him a glass of liquor, everything, walked around the house. Then there was a man out front of the house that was like, hey, you don't belong here. And as soon as the man turned his head, he ran in the back of the man, busted the man in the back of the head. The cop that was in the neighborhood approached him. He was talking a little slick. Asked him, did he see Betty? He said, I ain't seen nothing. He ended up shooting the cop, killed him or whatever. And so the neighborhood men that was in the neighborhood, the mom is in the hospital, in the crazy home. The neighborhood men is plotting on the family. So they end up coming in. It's two of them, and they beat the dad up real bad. Took the daughters, put them away, and took the daughters in the basement, and they was getting ready to hang the dad. They cut the dad's finger off and get ready to hang the dad or whatever. Meanwhile, back at the crazy home, the wife, they trying to establish the ground of a strong black woman. The wife is a fighter, and she won't give up. So she fought her way out of the crazy home. She ended up giving the sleep medicine to the orderly guy. Then the main nurse person that was in there that was giving these women the bad drugs and was experimenting on these women, she went in, beat her up, smashed her head against the wall and stuff, let the one woman out. And then when she got to the front, it was a black man that was like supposed to be security. And he just looked at her, she looked at him, and he put his head down. So that was her way to keep it moving. So while the dad and the girls is going through this at home, she's on her way making it back home. And what happens is the mom had bought an axe earlier in the episode, and she put it in the basement. And the little girl, the oldest daughter, ran and got the axe, and while they was killing her dad, she stabbed one of them in the back with the axe, and then he's the one that had the gun. And she pretty much told the man, like, I wish you would come across here and try to grab this gun. So the man tried to run up the steps, and he went running. Meanwhile, the dad got loose, took his gun, and was shooting at him. And then when all the time he got outside the house, he shot him in the leg and beat him down with the gun, and then the townspeople start coming out or whatever, and then he kind of backed up. And when he went back in the house, the little girls that was there, the demons all grabbed the little girls and stuff like that. Each one that was following each other, and after they grabbed the little girls, he finally came in, and his Sambo came and grabbed him, and then the mom finally came in, and then she each one by one went to each one of them to basically save them from their demon. And the little girl, when the Miss Vera was going after the mom, the little girl went in her little book that she had and tore the little page of the Vera spirit up, and that killed the Vera spirit. The mom, the little girl was there. Then the oldest sister, she was in with her spirit, and the mom came in and basically told her she was beautiful, and that she wouldn't hurt her because she had a vision that the mom would hurt, because they never told the little girls what happened with their little brother, so they was led to believe that the mom killed she went crazy and killed the little brother or whatever. So from there, they got her clear, and then the dad was left. Then he killed Sambo, and when he took the cloth to wipe Sambo's face off, it was a white man underneath the all the paint and everything. So that was that. Then the mom said it's not over yet. So outside was going on. The whole house was filled with fire. Cops was outside with the guns aiming at the house, and the whole townspeople was snapping and everything like that. And the mom said it's not done. So she went in the basement. That's where the man with the black hat was down there, and they was having a back and forth. And then basically told her, like, you could have your son back. And that was like her last test to see if she would give in. And she pretty much said, my son is gone. And she stood up to him, and he ended up catching fire, and he died because he failed at people giving in. And it went off with the family all standing out front of their home with the fire around the house, and the town people going off, and the police aiming the gun at them. That's how it went off. And I failed to Betty, that got kidnapped by the milkman. At one point, he left a quart of wine, the wine opener, and she stabbed him. And he pretty much told her, like, you're gonna have to, basically trust me. Eventually, this is your new resting spot. And so he had her in a bunker off in the field. And when the next morning came, she went and checked the bunker, and it was open. So she got out of the bunker and looked at the house, and she thought she was free, and she started running, trying to run through freedom. Now, keep in mind, she in the country somewhere, and all of a sudden, it just shows her running, and then a shot go off, and she drops. Then it showed him at the porch, where he had a sniper gun and killed her from, So Betty's out of here, and I failed to mention that, and that's the movie. And don't waste your time. I give this series one out of 4 stars. This series was terrible, and the reason, you can decipher yourself on a reason why stuff like this keeps getting greenlit, and why they keep allowing these type of movies and series like this keep getting greenlit. And nothing of no other race gets released like this. Nothing I see. Where they promoting it or whatever. And actors and actresses, they're trying to make a living, so they pretty much would take any role. This is the way they looking to bring in some money or to get on. Not looking at the damage it could cause. Why is it never no movies of the positive things, uplifting? This is not uplifting right here. This is a constant reminder. So if you just kept it spook, why you can't make a film or a series where you just keep it spooks or whatever? It wasn't nothing symbolic in here and all that, where people were looking at the movie Get Out or the movie Us, and you know the different cryptic things that were going on. That was, you know, I don't see nothing symbolic and stuff all that. You know what I mean? But of course, you could get somebody that could give a complete breakdown on the different things. Oh, well, this what happened. This and what meant here, and all this bull. The fact of the matter, it was a horrible series, terrible. It was a terrible series or whatever, and it really could get 0 out of 4 stars for real, 0 out of 4 stars. And that horrific scene with the baby, that was terrible. I don't even know why would they put that scene in there. Leave the imagination, but for you to do something like that, like what are you, you know what I mean? That ain't making people feel sorry for what their ancestors or people like them did. That's just a constant say, yeah, and that's how we roll. That ain't no. What's the point of putting that out there or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And it should be a lot of people that did watch it bashing this series and get this series taken off or whatever. They would greenlit something like this, but let this been something else from a different race that was projected on here like that. It would have never got greenlit, or people would be blackballed. But nevertheless, that's my rant um, for this series. Don't waste your time. Subscribe and like the video. Till next time.